The valet line at Sterling Enterprises' annual gala stretched around the luxury hotel, but my brother Marcus didn't wait. He never did. His metallic gray Porsche screeched to a halt directly in front of me, music blaring. "Park it properly this time, Diana," he smirked, tossing his keys at my face. "No scratches like last year." I caught the keys one-handed, remembering there hadn't been any scratches. He'd invented that story to convince his colleagues I couldn't be trusted with responsibility. Just like he'd convinced them to hire me as a temporary valet instead of the executive position I'd interviewed for. "Of course, Mr. Sterling," I replied professionally, ignoring the snickers from his entourage. They all knew I was his sister. That was the joke. The Sterling family's Harvard MBA graduate reduced to parking her brother's cars. What they didn't know was that for the past 3 years, while working as a valet, I'd also been the anonymous strategic consultant who'd saved Sterling Enterprises from bankruptcy. The same consultant who now owned 46% of the company's shares through careful acquisitions and proxy votes. "Don't forget to check the trunk," Marcus called over his shoulder. "My golf clubs better not get stolen like last time." Another invented incident. I waited until he disappeared into the hotel before opening his trunk. No golf clubs. Just file folders he'd stolen from the office. Files that would prove very interesting to the board of directors. My phone buzzed. A message from Robert Chin, Sterling Enterprises chairman. "Everything's set for tonight's announcement?" "All in place," I texted back. Marcus doesn't suspect anything. 3 years ago, when I returned from Harvard with my MBA, my brother had been threatened by my qualifications. Instead of welcoming me to the family business, he'd sabotaged my interviews, spread rumors about my competence, and finally helped me get a job as a valet. The perfect way to keep his little sister in her place. What he didn't know was that Chairman Chin had seen through the sabotage. He'd approached me privately with an unusual proposal: work as the company's secret consultant while maintaining my cover as a valet. It gave me unprecedented access to every conversation, every document, every backroom deal. After all, who notices the valet? I parked Marcus's Porsche and returned to my post just as Thomas Wright, our CFO, pulled up in his Mercedes. "Evening, Diana." He nodded kindly. Thomas was one of the few who treated me with respect. "Big night tonight." "Is it?" I played dumb, taking his keys. He lowered his voice. "The board's announcing the new CEO. Your brother's been bragging it's in the bag." I smiled, thinking of the folder in my evening bag. The one documenting every questionable decision Marcus had made over the past 3 years. "We'll see." The hotel ballroom was transformed for the gala, crystal chandeliers reflecting off marble floors. As a valet, I wasn't supposed to enter, but Chairman Chin had insisted I attend. "You'll want to see their faces," he'd said. I changed quickly in the staff room, replacing my valet uniform with a Valentino gown I'd bought specifically for tonight. The price tag would have shocked those who thought I survived on a valet's salary. But then they didn't know about my consultant's fees or my stock portfolio. "Diana." Marcus's voice carried across the ballroom as I entered. "What are you doing in here?" "The valets eat in the kitchen." I watched his eyes narrow as he took in my dress, obviously calculating how I could afford it. "Chairman Chin invited me." "Did he now?" Marcus grabbed my arm, pulling me aside. "Listen, little sister, don't embarrass me tonight. This is my moment. The board's announcing the new CEO and dash. And you think it's you," I finished. "Because you planted those false reports about the Singapore merger." His face paled slightly. "How did you?" "You'd be amazed what people say in front of the valet. Or what documents they leave in their car trunks." For the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker across my brother's face. But before he could respond, Chairman Chin took the stage, tapping his glass for attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. As you know, Sterling Enterprises has undergone remarkable transformation over the past 3 years, thanks largely to our anonymous strategic consultant." The crowd murmured. Everyone had theories about the mysterious consultant's identity. "Tonight," Chin continued, "we not only reveal our consultant's identity but also announce our new CEO." Marcus straightened his tie, already stepping forward. "But first," Chin smiled, "I believe our consultant has a presentation about the Singapore merger." I watched my brother's smirk fade as I walked toward the stage, pulling the damning folder from my evening bag. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning. It's letting them watch their own game fall apart. The ballroom fell silent as I took the podium, every eye fixed on the valet who dared to step into the spotlight. Marcus stood frozen, his face cycling through shock, confusion, and dawning horror as I opened the folder. "Good evening," I began, my voice carrying clearly through the room. "For those who only know me as the valet who parks your cars, allow me to properly introduce myself. Diana Sterling, Harvard MBA, and for the past 3 years, Sterling Enterprises strategic consultant." The projector screen behind me lit up with financial charts, ones I'd created during countless night shifts while supposedly watching cars. "Let's discuss the Singapore merger," I continued, watching Marcus's face grow paler. "Specifically, how certain parties attempted to manipulate board approval through falsified projections." I clicked through slides showing the real numbers, documents I'd photographed from Marcus's trunk, emails I'd recovered, conversations I'd overheard while parking cars for his conspirators. The proposed merger would have cost Sterling Enterprises $342 million in the first year alone, I revealed, highlighting the hidden costs Marcus had tried to bury. Fortunately, our intervention prevented this oversight. From the corner of my eye, I saw several board members glaring at Marcus, who was now tugging at his collar. "Diana," he stepped forward, voice strained, "clearly there's been a misunderstanding like the misunderstanding that got me hired as a valet?" I interrupted smoothly. "Or the misunderstanding about my Harvard credentials being fake. Those scratches you claimed I made on your car? The stolen golf clubs that never existed." The crowd whispered. Marcus's allies began stepping away from him, distancing themselves from the impending fallout. "While working as your valet," I addressed the room, "I've had unique access to conversations, documents, and decisions that shaped this company. I've watched executives discuss strategies in their cars, seen confidential files left in back seats, and heard every backroom deal made in the parking lot. I projected a new set of figures, the company's transformation over the past 3 years. Under my consultation, Sterling Enterprises has increased market share by 47%, expanded into 3 new continents, and doubled our profit margins." Chairman Chin stepped forward. "Which brings us to tonight's main announcement." Marcus made one last desperate attempt. "Father would never have wanted Actually, I cut in, producing our father's old journal, he did. Page 127, written 2 months before his death. Diana sees what Marcus misses: the human element. She understands that true leadership isn't about power but responsibility." The journal had been in Marcus's office, hidden away where he thought no one would look. But valets have access everywhere, and late nights provided plenty of time for research. "Ladies and gentlemen," Chairman Chen's voice filled the room, "it gives me great pleasure to announce Sterling Enterprises' new Chief Executive Officer, Diana Sterling." The sound of Marcus's car keys hitting the marble floor echoed through the sudden silence. His jaw dropped as security quietly moved to flank him. "Furthermore," Chin continued, "given the evidence presented regarding the Singapore merger attempt, the board has voted to suspend Marcus Sterling pending further investigation." I watched my brother's world crumble as his allies turned their backs, his schemes unraveled, and his position evaporated. But this wasn't just about revenge. It was about responsibility. Sterling Enterprises was founded on innovation and integrity. I addressed the room. Values that got lost somewhere between power plays and profit margins. Starting tomorrow, we return to those principles. The applause started slowly, then built to a thunderous approval. Board members who'd once ignored me lined up to shake my hand. Executives who'd smirked at the valet now scrambled to pledge their loyalty. Marcus stood alone, his perfect suit suddenly seeming too tight, his confident smirk replaced by shocked defeat. As security prepared to escort him out, I walked over to him. "You forgot something," I said quietly, holding out his car keys. "Don't worry, I parked it properly. No scratches." His hand trembled as he took the keys. "How long have you been planning this?" "Planning? Oh. Succeeding despite your sabotage? 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days. Ever since you made sure I was hired as a valet instead of an executive. The board won't accept this," he tried one last time. "They won't follow a parking attendant." I smiled, thinking of the voting shares I controlled, the allies I'd made, the the respect I'd earned while he was busy playing power games. They already do, I replied. After all, I've been running this company for 3 years. You just didn't notice because you were too busy looking down on the valet. As security led him away, I turned back to face my company, because that's what it was now. I earned through patience, intelligence, and the willingness to park cars while building an empire. Chairman Chin appeared at my elbow. Ready for your first official board meeting as CEO? I glanced at my watch, the same one I'd worn while parking cars, but now it carried a different weight. Actually, I need to make a quick stop first. The next morning, I arrived early at Sterling Enterprises, not in a chauffeured car like most CEOs but driving myself. Old habits die hard, and 3 years of parking cars had taught me the value of understanding every aspect of your operation. The security guard who'd watched me park cars for years did a double take as I walked through the lobby wearing a tailored suit instead of a valet uniform. Miss Sterling. Madam Sue. It's still just Diana, George, I smiled, handing him a coffee, the same way I had every morning as a valet. How's your daughter's college applications going? This was what Marcus never understood. While he'd been building alliances in boardrooms, I'd been building relationships everywhere else. The security guards who knew every visitor, the maintenance staff who overheard every conversation, the cleaning crew who saw every discarded document. They'd been my eyes and ears for 3 years. My new office, previously Marcus's, needed work. The pretentious oil paintings would go, replaced by photographs of our employees. The locked cabinets that had hidden his schemes would become transparent glass. But first I had a meeting. The valet staff is here, my assistant announced. I'd requested my first meeting not with board members or executives, but with my former colleagues. 20 valets filed in, looking uncomfortable in the CEO's office. 3 years ago, I addressed them. I learned that sometimes the best view of a company comes from the ground up. You taught me that. I projected their new compensation package on the screen. Doubled salaries, full benefits, educational opportunities. Starting today, every valet at Sterling Enterprises has a path to management if they want it. Because sometimes the best leaders are the ones who understand both ends of the business. Next came the department heads, then the board members. Some tried to pretend they'd always supported me. Others admitted their mistakes in underestimating me. A few resigned rather than work under the former valet. I accepted their resignations with a smile, already knowing who would replace them. My phone buzzed constantly. Marcus, we need to talk. This is still our father's company. Mother. Darling, surely we can work something out with your brother. Industry news. Valet to CEO. Sterling Enterprises unprecedented leadership change. Chairman Chin. Board approval ratings at record high. You're already changing things. I ignored most messages, focusing instead on the transformation plans I'd developed during countless night shifts. Plans that would restore Sterling Enterprises to what my father had envisioned. A company built on innovation and integrity, not power plays and politics. Late that afternoon, I took a walk through the parking garage. Not as a valet this time, but as someone who understood its importance to our operation. The new valet manager, promoted from within, was implementing changes I'd dreamed up while parking cars. Miss Sterling, a familiar voice called. I turned to see Thomas Wright, our CFO, pulling in. Old habits. Just checking on improvements, I smiled. How's the market responding? Stocks up 12% since the announcement. Turns out investors like the idea of a CEO who understands every level of the business. I nodded, remembering all the conversations I'd overheard in this very spot. Executives discussing deals they thought were secret. Managers plotting moves they assumed were private. The parking garage had been my real business school. As I walked back to my office, I passed the wall where employee photos hung. A new section was being installed. From entry to executive, showing career paths from every level of the company. My valet ID photo would be the first one up. My assistant handed me a stack of messages as I sat down at my desk. On top was a note from Marcus's lawyer, demanding a meeting. Below it, a letter from Harvard Business School, asking me to give a guest lecture on unconventional paths to leadership. I set them aside and opened my father's journal again, reading his last entry. Success isn't about where you start, but how well you observe, learn, and grow from wherever you're planted. Diana understands this. I hope someday Marcus will too. Looking out over the city, I thought about transformation, not just of my position but of the company's culture. Under Marcus, status had been everything. Under me, capability would matter more than title. My phone buzzed with a message from the new valet manager. Your brother's here, demanding premium parking. Says he's still a sterling. I smiled, typing back. Give him the standard rate in regular spot. Remind him that at Sterling Enterprises, everyone earns their place. Opening my laptop, I began drafting a company-wide memo. New mentorship program. Because every position matters, every voice counts, and everyone deserves a chance to grow. Even the valet might be your future CEO. The sun set over the city as I worked late into the evening. Not because I had to, but because old habits die hard. And because I remembered what it was like to watch this same sunset while waiting for executives to finish their meetings and claim their cars. Tomorrow, Sterling Enterprises would announce new initiatives, promote deserving employees, and launch programs that would change the industry. But tonight I took one last walk through the parking garage, remembering where it all began. Near my old valet podium I placed a small plaque, Park your pride, drive with purpose. Below it I added a quote from my father's journal, true leadership sees value at every level. As I finally left for the night, I drove myself home, no driver, no premium spot, no special treatment. Because sometimes the best way to lead is to remember what it was like to serve. And sometimes, the most powerful person in the room is the one who once parked your car.